Today's going to be a little bit of more of an extension update than research, but good to see everybody here today. And first, I wanted to start off by thanking Matt and the citrus agents for putting on this event. Each year, we have three main citrus extension events around the state. We just had the Florida Citrus Show in Fort Pierce. We have the Citrus Institute here in Avon Park every year. And then, of course, the Citrus Expo in the fall, which this year will be back again in Fort Myers. A different location in Fort Myers than it has been in the past, not the fairgrounds, but more downtown. So more to come about that. But this has always been one of our main events each year. Appreciate Matt, like he mentioned in his intro, taking over kind of short notice without a lot of guidance, but has done a good job of him working with the other agents to put this together, and definitely appreciate their efforts and all they've done to make this happen. One comment, so as he mentioned, Chris Oswalt did retire this year as the Polk and Hillsborough extension agent for citrus. We have been through a process already of soliciting applications for the new Polk County, Hillsborough County extension agent. I think there's a short list that's been selected. Invitations are going out, and the interview process will be starting very soon for that new agent position. So hopefully in the next couple of months maybe, we will hopefully hear a little more, have an announcement to make about the new citrus extension agent for Polk and Hillsborough County. So we're excited about that. I know there's some growers who are on one of the search and screen committees for that. Appreciate your service in that as we select the new agent to fill the shoes of Chris Oswalt and all the great things that he did. So what I want to do is take a couple of minutes here and just give you a little bit of updates on some of the efforts that we're doing in extension statewide. There's a lot of information you're going to hear today through some of the presentations this morning. You have the opportunity to interact with our researchers this afternoon. There's a lot of work going on, continues to go on related to HLB and other topics that are important for our industry. And a lot of times people can't get out to all the meetings, or sometimes you're just trying to sort through, okay, what's new information, what do I need to be aware of? And so we're keeping that in mind as we've been trying to look at how we revise and revamp some of our extension programs to make them more effective, make the information easier to access and be available to you. And so I wanted to update you on just a couple of things. Hopefully, the first one most everybody's familiar with, but if not, I wanted to mention that just this past fall, we did launch for the first time a new publication, IFAS Citrus Magazine. We've had 2 issues of that come out. It's a quarterly publication. If you've not seen that, there are copies of the past 2 issues that are going to be over in the gymnasium at the IFAS Extension Info booth, where you'll see Jamie Burrow there. It is a quarterly magazine that's published in-house, and it's all through IFAS. We're funding it all. We don't have any advertisers or anything like that, so it's all IFAS information. And we've got it being distributed a couple of ways. You can request to receive a hard copy of that in the mail, and we're glad to send that to you. And you can also sign up. There's a QR code over there where you can sign up and get a link to access it online. You can get it. It's that if you've ever used the issue tool, it's like a magazine reader. Like if you see some of the Field and Stream type publications or Florida Sportsman, sometimes you'll see those come through the issue program. We've done the same thing, so it's easy to flip through and read the material on an iPad, a computer, an iPhone, or whatever. But the whole purpose of that magazine is trying to make sure that anything new that we've got coming out, it's getting delivered to you. You can tease through, find some of the latest, newest information. That each magazine, each quarter, a part of the magazine is focused on, more seasonal content, things that are important at that time of the year. Just a lot of it's a review, but really a reminder of what you should be thinking about at that time of the year in terms of, production practices, whether it's nutrition or pest management, things like that. Then we'll also have a number of research updates And this is meant to keep you up to date on some of the latest in research. The research is not always going to be stuff that you can use in your groves immediately, but we know people want to know what's the status on things. We heard a little bit Brandon talking about CRISPR, some of the CRISPR work, whether it's the latest of Dr. Albrecht's work on OTC or other things like that. We're trying to always have updates, some of the latest information, just so at least you know where we are, where we're headed with that research. Sometimes it might actually be applicable. Sometimes it's just letting you know what's in the works. And in addition, there'll be things like upcoming events and things like that, just keeping you updated in the magazine. We've got a lot of good feedback from growers about the magazine. We weren't sure how it was going to work, if this was something we're going to try and then maybe decide not to continue. But so far, the feedback has been really good. So I guess not surprising. Most people like receiving it in the mail, like to receive the hard copy. And we'll continue to do that. It does cost us more money to do that, but we're glad to send it out. So if you want a hard copy, the next issue is about to come out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. This will be the 3rd issue. And if you're not getting a copy mailed to your business or your home and you would like one, Jamie will have a way for you to sign up over in the gym today. So make sure you sign up and you can receive that by mail, and also the ways to access that online as well if you're interested in that. And so I encourage you to sign up for that. I think probably when we hit the 4th issue later this fall, there will also be an opportunity in the magazine for you to go online and fill out a survey. We're trying to give it a full year of the magazine running, and we want to know what's working, what's not, if there's things that you would like to see in that magazine that ways we can make improvements. So I'd encourage you this fall, when you see that request for, to fill out a survey about the magazine, if you would do that. And, tell us what you think. Be honest. Let us know things you would like to see or ways we can improve. Because everything we're doing, we're always trying to improve and make it more useful for you as you navigate through all the various sources of information that's out there on HLB, which can be pretty confusing with lots of things going on. So that's the magazine. We also have another effort that's about to launch really soon, and we've not talked about this yet, but you've probably heard me talk in the past, whether it's on podcast or at other meetings, about the IFAS statewide citrus research and extension website. That has been online for a little while now, and I will say that it's a bit of a mess, even for me, to go in sometimes and try to find things. And so we've made a real effort in probably the past 6 months to totally relaunch or redo this website to make it a lot more user friendly. We've looked for areas. Well, there's some content that's been on there that was, in my opinion, was probably worthless and not worth being on there, to be honest. But at the same time, there's a lot of information that was missing, and so things that I think that growers are looking for, but they couldn't find on the website. And so we've gone through I say we, Jamie Burrows and our extension team have really led the effort. A lot of man hours going into redoing that website. And I would love to show it today, but it's on an offline server right now, so I can't demonstrate it. But more to come on that. But probably in the next month, that is going to launch, and we'll be putting out announcements about that website for you to go visit when it does go live. And I think that everybody who looks at it is going to agree that it's a big improvement on what we have right now. The ability to sift through and find information that you're looking for, it'll be much quicker, much easier to do. And there's also going to be a lot of information, with some new information on there that you've not seen in the past. One good example, working with our plant breeding team, surprisingly, we've not had a lot of information on our new citrus varieties on the web. Most of what you could get would be at meetings around the state where you heard people like Fred or Jude talk about different varieties, and you have to be there in person, so you have a PowerPoint presentation or get a copy of it later. But we're going to have there's one portion of that website just dedicated to information on all the new rootstock and sign varieties. Some of that information has been available in the past, like through the NVDMC websites or the Florida Foundation seed producers. But we're trying to expand on that and have all that at one location on the IFAS website for all of our rootstocks and scions, and probably some that aren't ours as well, I think are going to be included. So But the goal of the website, again, it's supposed to be kind of a one-stop shop for everything that's happening in IFAS and Citrus from across the state. So this is all of our faculty from all the different RECs in Gainesville are contributing to this effort. And so I think you'll find that it's a lot more user-friendly, a lot more informative than the past website has been, and encourage you to have a look at that when you see the announcements come out. And do know that over time, we're launching it with as much information as we can, but it's always a work in progress. And so we will continue to add more information over time. And like with a magazine, if there's something that you would like to see on that website that's not there, let one of us know, and we'll work to make that happen. Because again, at the end of the day, we want it to be something that you use, because we're putting a lot of effort into this, and we hope that it'll be something that you find useful. So for all those things, I just encourage you to stop by the extension booth over in the gym after lunch. Visit with Jamie. She'll have all the sign-up information if you want to access, the magazine, our statewide email list where we send out announcements, different things like that. All that can be, she can direct you to all that information if you're not familiar with that already. And I also wanted to mention that the other thing we're doing in Extension is we are trying to do a lot more in-person events throughout the year than we have in the past. We know some people prefer to receive stuff electronically or by mail. Some people love to go to meetings. So we are trying to do at least every other month having some sort of Citrus, more of a statewide type event taking place. So you'll see more information coming out about meetings throughout the course of the year. I think I didn't look at the calendar before I came in today, but I think the next event is something that Matt and others are going to be working on. He'll talk about that this afternoon or later this morning, the PULA meeting, which is the pesticide use limitation area. Is that the right word? Okay. Yeah. And that, if you're not familiar with what that is, definitely when we have our break, don't be late coming back from break to hear Matt's talk, because he's going to give you a pretty good preview of what's going on related to pesticide use requirements. There's a lot of changes on how things are doing, and it goes back to the Endangered Species Act and things like that. Matt's going to break it down, but it affects every agricultural commodity in the state when you're applying pesticides. It affects how you do things, what you can do, and your reporting, your audit requirements, I guess is a good way to put it. And Matt will break all that down, but then it gets even more detailed than probably what he can get into today. And so there will be maybe a 3 or 4 hour meeting, 3-hour meeting in I think it's in Lake Alfred sometime soon. The information's over in the booth next door. But I encourage you to participate in that meeting, because it is a lot of new information. It's daunting when you try to go online and look at some of the new laws and requirements from EPA. But Matt and Brett Bultemeyer from the Pesticide Information Office are going to break it all down, make it really easy for you to do. You'll want to bring your laptop, if you have one, to be able to go through and try it on your own. And so I just encourage folks to pay attention to that and participate if at all possible. So with that, I just want to thank everybody again for being here. Encourage everybody to stop by all the different research booths that are going to be set up after lunch over in the gymnasium. And that's your chance to really talk to our researchers from across the state about ongoing projects and get their questions from them. And Matt, I'll turn it back over to you to introduce our first educational speaker.